So, welcome to the Adjacent Podcast. I'm Patrick Warren, currently a second-year ITP student, and today I'm excited to talk to ITP alum, educator, and director of technology at New York's RLab, Todd Bryant. Todd, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Great to meet you. Great to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you here. Today, we're trying to have a conversation about the idea of transition and what that means in the digital communications landscape today. And before we get started, anything you want to add about yourself?
I'm really excited about the spring. We at the RLab and by extension Tandon School of Engineering have received an EPIC grant to develop, or they're called mega grants, develop virtual production curriculum. So not just my class,
Nice.
we'll be having a suite of classes, and we'll be doing it through IDM, Integrated Digital Media, which is kind of like engineering's sister program. And what's great about IDM is that they also have great inroads with the Tandon Online, the engineering online. And so we'll be able to take all these classes and then put them up online so that people, like the workforce, can get at it. The people that don't have time to go back to school full time can still take these classes. And the really cool twist that we're fleshing out right now is that the people of the general community that aren't degree bound, that are just like, hey, but I really want to take this virtual production class from Todd, but I don't want to enroll at NYU. They can actually take these classes now. So they could be a part of a 14-week class. And let's say you take 4 of the virtual production classes that I'm developing for the spring, you'd be halfway on your way to getting an engineering degree. Wow. And so that's a really cool feature we're trying to add in, is like really integrating, like, the other prerequisites for getting an engineering degree. They can walk away with not only the knowledge, but also like an advanced degree from NYU. So, we can get into it further, but like, I'm really, really excited that we have this momentum and that I have something to work on through this, bleak winter.
I hear that. I guess while we're on the topic of just kind of building curriculum, transition-wise, what's it been like for you going from an ITP student to actually teaching at ITP?
When it comes to ITP, there's you don't fit anything. I couldn't find a job. There was no job for me. I had to make that job. I had to, I had to put myself out there and let people see all the different skill sets I had and let people invent jobs for me. I mean, the story is, I had these great ideas of doing amazing big projection mapping projects. That's what I was really in love with, was giant, architectural mappings. And I had 3 projects lined up after I graduated, and all 3 of them got canceled right on the day of start of production, because people get cold feet. It's like a lot of time and money spent on a 3-minute thing that's then gone, right? And they're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And so I was I was just kind of I was just beside myself, what do I do for for money? And I took a little job tech directing a piece for the Met Museum, which ended up being a motion capture project and ended up being over at IDM's newly installed motion capture system. And I've been doing that. I had to learn Unreal for the project. I learned motion capture for the project, but I did it anyway, even though I didn't know how to do it, because I just kind of need the money. But it was also an amazing opportunity, but I just needed I was literally doing beans and rice. And Dano heard about it, and I said, Dano, I'm looking for what to do next, but this project was amazing. And he's like, well, why don't you teach it? I'm like, well, I've only been doing this game engine for 4 months and motion capture for 4 months. I don't know if I can teach a bunch of, ITP students this stuff. I don't really know how to code that well. And there's just so many things, this pipeline. He goes, well, if you want to learn something, teach it. And and that's been the best advice ever, is that now my semesters are always, what do I want to learn? Not what do I want to teach? Well, obviously what I want to teach too, but I put things in my syllabus that I don't know how to do. And that's been kind of my goal as I teach, is, occasionally I'll repeat a class, but usually there's always some sort of aspirational component that I have a deadline then, and I have to figure it out along with the students, or just ahead of the students. So that's been my approach. And then my syllabi, I always say, are living documents. Everything we've done together that we've gone through, the weeks behind us, those are locked in as an archival document, but everything ahead of us, we're going to just bob and weave as I see what sticks and what doesn't, so that's just kind of been the approach.
Got you. And thinking about that, what's the transition been like for you since all of this has been going on? How's it been going from in-person to blended remote learning?
Well, It's really funny because I was doing this. It was supposed to be more of an in-person class. We were going to do like more like a physical installation kind of motion capture piece where there's all these different kind of moving parts, like Rube Goldberg kind of motion capture real-time rendering thing. And it actually, it forced us to figure out how to do this remotely. And all these tools had just come out that allowed us to collaborate within the engine as multiplayer or multi-user editing kind of tools. And it actually made the class better.
It's been like, I mean, as currently as a student, it's been interesting to kind of take note of what's working remotely and what's not working. It's almost a weird kind of like, I don't want to like that I'm liking things in this current format because I want to go back to in person. What do you imagine the transition will be like out of this to whatever is next?
I mean, I think that the lesson we've all learned is you don't have to be there.
Yeah.
I unfortunately for the the travel industry, like you don't have to travel. I mean, you can shoot on location without having to send a crew to a space that could accidentally interrupt wildlife and all this kind of stuff. It's being like, you don't have to go there. That's the lesson we've learned. I actually don't enjoy being at an entire week-long conference. I would prefer just to do the few things I like to do and then see the rest remotely, but they're not often live streamed. And now we've seen how well we can live stream things and what does and what does not work. So and I think we've now seen this whole world of you can work from home, and this means that you can take more personal time. You can if you have an hour-long commute both ways, like let's take that off, and that time can be spent on you, on your own well-being. And a lot of the people in New York City are known for like burning the candle at both ends and working too hard. And this is kind of it's a reset. It's a way of now that we know we don't have to just be everywhere all the time.
Yeah. All right, cool. This was great a little bit. I guess as far as like the area of new experiential media, how do you see VR and AR kind of fitting in? Like, what are their roles? Are they distinct? Where do they blend?
Well, I mean, I definitely see them as distinct mediums, and obviously there's the MR in between. But I consider that more of like a flavor of a better AR. For me, I still see VR as the experiential, the storytelling medium. I see it. Obviously it is immersive because you're fully occluded eyesight. But for me, it's still the thing I'm chasing after because of its completeness and all the things you could do with other sensory components of haptics and smell and taste and all those kind of things. It really leads itself to this kind of idea of the sublime, of like really sharing a vision of an artist or some sort of practitioner to an audience. Whereas I really, and I don't mean to knock on AR, I just find it more transactional. I find it a way of getting information. It helps you navigate. It helps you find out what something costs. It has some novelty components to it, definitely when you think about filters and such. But I haven't seen a story that was compelling in AR just yet.
All right, I think we're wrapping up, but a couple more questions before we go. I always like to ask folks, when people ask you what ITP is, what do you say?
I just say the Center for Recently Possible. Like it definitely rings true. I mean, it depends on what the person is and what their experience is. It's real time. It's interactive. It's cutting edge or bleeding edge technology, and it is not only the recently possible, but it is the way into the future.
I like that. And do you have any advice for students who are, what do you do after ITP?
As long as you're just doing something, like just figure out what your narrative is, because it's really not what you make, it's the story about what you made.
Right. Yeah. I hear that.
It's the presentation. It's not the object or the thing, so almost everything I've ever done, I don't know how to do when I started. I didn't know how to do Pharaohs. I didn't know how to do projection mapping. I had to take the job and then pull all-nighters and pull my hair out while I was pulling all-nighters and under tables and burn the candle at both ends because I didn't know where it was. And things are getting maybe a little bit easier because there's more tutorials and there's a bigger community that are doing these kind of things now. But it's just about putting yourself out there and then realizing that there is a support system, that there is a safety net, and that is your alumni, that is the alumni list, that is that maybe I get a little myopic and I become kind of introverted when I work on things, but a really good producer will help find you people. There's people that you don't have to answer everything yourself. And that's really, really important. There's somebody that probably knows better out there. And guess what? If you have a really interesting question, they'll probably answer. And they might even answer really quickly, and they might even answer for free because they're just happy that somebody's interested in the same thing they're interested in. And like, don't be afraid just to contact your heroes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I went from, you know, studying these people in classes, and then in 2 or 3 years, I was hiring them, or I was guiding them, I was working with them, or I was on their project helping them with the thing. So it's the community is small, and you know, so definitely be a good person, definitely be honorable, definitely work hard, and if you work hard and you show up and you do the thing you say you're going to do, then you know you'll be part of that community, and it'll just continue to grow off itself. So you know, don't get discouraged. Definitely be ambitious. Definitely be, you know, communicative and honorable and timely, and you know, just show up, and you'll see where you'll see where you can go with that. But you know, it might take, you know, a day. It might be a year or two. But the reason why it's hard is because it's worth waiting for.
I love that. I love that. Oh, Todd, thank you so much. This has been great. If folks want to find out more about you, where do they go? What should they look up?
You can just go to toddjbryant.com. There's a way to email me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Todd.
No problem.
All right, have a good one.
Great to meet you, man.